Welcome back, everyone. And congratulations. You've reached the fun part of this journey. It's not going to be perfect the first time, but the beauty of it is you can always just start over, turn off those switches again, and you're going to get it, and you're going to get there, and it's going to be beautiful.
It's been fun for us, huh?
It really has. And this content is still life-changing for us, even to this day. I mean, you started working on it in 2019?
2019. And you think about it, we haven't done it perfectly. We don't admit that we're doing it perfectly, but the good thing is we're doing it. And it's amazing how our relationship has improved, how our relationship with other people has improved, how our work has improved, simply because we now have the ability to stop stress.
Well, and just to kind of go through some of the things we've talked about in previous sessions, to me it's amazing how stress events in our lives, how we handle them differently now versus how we handled them when we very first began this process of writing the book.
Yeah, because we've turned the daily stress off, or we at least know that if we're starting to feel keyed up, if we're starting to feel stressed out, we know that we're allowing it to happen because there's not a life event that's happening that's causing it. It's us causing it.
And if we can do it, you can do it.
That's a fact.
So, you want to tell them about our one of our favorite people?
Yeah. The person who exemplified this more and better than any person I know on planet Earth was my Mema. My Mema lived to the young age of 93 years old. And as you look at these pictures of Mema, I just ask, what do you see? Because when I look at these pictures, I see a person that's full of love and full of joy and full of life and just fun. Like you just see fun exuding from this human being. And the cool thing is, she was like 4'10", but she was a giant of a person. And she lived to be 93. So typically, how many people normally come to a funeral of a 93-year-old person?
Usually not very many.
No. Why?
Because you've beat all your friends.
Yeah, you've won. Like you beat all your friends. And so normally there's not a lot of people at a 93-year-old's funeral. To complicate matters and make it even worse, Mema was the manager of the Department of Motor Vehicle in our town. She managed the DMV and lived to be 93. We should have had to pay people to come to her funeral. But guess what? Guess how many people were at her funeral?
It was standing room only.
Standing room only in the chapel at the mortuary.
Which was a very big space.
Yeah. And it was cool that as people walked by to pay their final respects, one person right after the next would say things like, "Your Mema was the most positive person I ever met in my life. Your Mema was a joy to be around." People would say they would stand in line at the motor vehicle department just so she would wait on them. One person came by and said, "When I was talking to your grandmother, she made me feel like I was the most important person in the world." And he goes, "I know I wasn't, but she made me feel like I was." And I'm like, oh no, at that moment in time when you were standing in front of her, you were the most important person in the world. She was the type of person that and I said this at the funeral, I said she was the person that if you had gone up to her and said, "Oh, Doris, wasn't it sad with all those people who died when the Titanic sank?" She would be like, "Oh yes, honey, that was so sad. But shouldn't we be grateful for all the people who lived?" I mean, that's who she was. But the reality of her life story was she had every reason, every right to be one of the most bitter, negative, self-centered, sad people on planet Earth. Her mother died when she was young. Her and her siblings were raised by her dad, who in her own words one time to me said, "Well, he could be kind of verbally mean sometimes." And then her and my granddad had to get married when they had only been dating for a little bit, which back in that era and that time, that never happened, or you certainly didn't talk about it. And I would say this about my granddad. I love my granddad. I did not respect his lifestyle choices. As she and my mom and aunt said, he could be really rough, especially when he drank, and a lot of times he started that early in the day. And so he was a rough person, and he was a hard man. But through all of that, and it was she even told me one time, she said, "I should have left your granddad years ago, but that's just not what I did. That's just not what you did back then." And then she caught herself. And she goes, "But he had his good qualities too." I mean, she exuded optimism. She exuded that joy. And no matter what stress she had in her life, she chose to see the positive. She chose what attitude she would have. The bottom line is the greatest enemy you'll ever face is the one that lives between your ears. Mm-hmm. You're going to experience a lot of stress in life. That's part of living. It's just natural. So what can you do to turn off those stress switches so that you can handle life and that you can have joy and peace and love and the sound mind? And we say, hey, we hope that you can live like Mema, because the world could use a whole lot more Memas out there, and we hope that you can be one of them, and you can join us on this journey to being the stress-free you person you deserve to be. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns you have, because we want to help each and every one of you become the person that we know you were born to be.